nice cars. They put there the newest, the loudest sound system in the booth. And what do they play? They play bachata.
Bachata, yeah.
They play bachata. Hello, welcome to another episode of Bachata Lab. My name is Michal. I'm here today with Bachata Doctor Andy.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about some interesting facts from bachata history. We'll guide you through the history of bachata. We'll tell you a bit how it was created, where it came from, what do we know about the bachata name, what do we know about the genre in general, why it became popular, why it was difficult. So let's start straight away, and we'll tell you first what was the first bachata song ever recorded.
We will start with the main man. It's called Manuel Calderon. And the first ever recorded song was called Borracho de Amor.
Yes, and we have a small disagreement about this song, or maybe not
Drunken
a small...
Drunken in Love.
It's not maybe a small disagreement because I don't think it's a bachata.
Neither do I.
But it is mentioned in sources that...
Every source that you come
the
across.
first bachata song. However, we listen to the song and we'll add it to the card so you can listen by yourself and judge it however you want. However, it came on this small vinyl, how you call them in English? 45?
So it came on a 7-inch vinyl record, 45 RPM. And on one side he had Borracho de Amor and the other side Que Sera de Mi.
So we listen to this Que Sera de Mi and that sounds like bachata.
Definitely
Borracho de Amor doesn't. What's more, we did a bit more research and we found a discography of Jose Manuel Calderon. It's not very difficult to find, and he did like bigger compilation in 1962.
Este es Jose Manuel Calderon.
And there was Borracho de Amor as well, and on the album cover it's listed as Bolero,
which is what we thought it was when we first heard it. And what we have to remember is at that time bachata didn't exist.
So basically,
it wasn't called bachata.
Yes, it wasn't called bachata, but basically what we are referring to is our impression of how bachata sounds these days and what we would expect from bachata rhythmically, from instrumental aspect as well. So we would say that, in my opinion, the Que Sera de Mi would qualify as a bachata. Borracho de Amor, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Well, he is credited for having the first bachata song, and that's
in
what's
many
named.
sources, this Borracho de Amor is named as the first bachata song. So again, we'll leave it to you to listen and have your own judgment if you prefer. Jose Manuel Calderon is our first bachata artist. Do we know any artists from this time?
Yes, so sticking with the 60s. So 62, Jose Manuel Calderon. 63, Rafael Encarnacion. He did a full LP. However, unfortunately, he was in a tragic motorcycle accident and died. And his music sounds a lot like bachata as well. He seems like he was a very good artist and would have produced a lot more good songs, and it's a very shame. But you can hear his songs. We'll attach some links somewhere where you could find some of his songs.
If it's possible, we'll create a Spotify playlist. We didn't, to be honest, check if these songs exist on Spotify, but if they do, then we'll obviously make a small playlist out of them.
Following him was Luis Seguro, the father of bachata, as he came to be known later on, and he's produced many albums. Father of bachata, and another one where you'll come across if you just type on the internet.
Like very old school artists, very old school artists. Now, we have to move on and tell where the bachata comes from, because many people mention that bachata comes from Cuban bolero. When it comes to instrumentation, it makes a lot of sense because bachata was the first genre of music in Dominican Republic that used a guitar as a main instrument. Before it was accordion.
Accordion, yeah, please. So yes, you're right. It's taken from the Cuban bolero, which they talk about a lot, where the influence came from. And around that time in Latin America, Cuban bolero was more or less played in every country: Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, Puerto Rico. So the point is, a lot of the music around that time sounded similar in Mexico.
When it comes to the construction of the song, of bachata song, and Cuban influence on it, definitely the guitar, That's a clear association with Cuban music or bolero or son. Then we have a martillo on bongos. That is also Cuban rhythm. And even the bass is playing dum, 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 dum.
Habanero.
Habanera.
Habanera.
Habanera, yeah. That's also, if you look for opera, Bizet opera, Carmen, and there is this habanera part, and it's like, dum, 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 dum. If you look for this, and you dum, 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 you hear this rhythm, and this is where the name habanera comes from. This is very popular rhythm amongst many Latin genres. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. We say that bachata comes from bolero, but at that point, bachata wasn't called bachata. What's more, it wasn't really allowed to be publicly displayed, played in Dominican Republic. It was forbidden. It was post Trujillo's time. So what time was it when Trujillo was assassinated?
It was assassinated in 1961. His family took over for a short period. The Americans stepped in, tried to take control of it, civil unrest.
But there was from musical perspective, there was a big pressure on promoting merengue. So
Huge.
all other styles that didn't sound like merengue were pushed down quite a lot, and bachata amongst them. And the reason why it did survive was the radio station called Radio Guarachita. And who was the main guy of this radio?
He was called Radamen Aracena. 1965, he set up a radio station.
He was a very wealthy guy.
He was rich. He was quite well off compared to the people around him in those days. So what he would do is target the poor people, the Latin-based guitar music.
So basically, bachata music was created towards poor people, like Andy said. So people from poor urban areas or
rural places, campesino, so countryside. People migrated to the city in the 60s, late 60s as well, to look for work. So they took along with them their music.
So basically, like poor groups of people, whether it's in urban areas or rural areas, they were listening to bachata. Bachata was considered as something shameful to listen, something not popular, something...
It sounded rustic, and it was vulgar for the middle class and the upper class society.
So if we talk about the lyrics, it was about the violence.
It was about illicit sex. It was about womanizing, violence, like you said. Also heavy usage of alcohol, and it wasn't pleasant towards women.
So it was direct reflection of low class people, and it was,
I would say, matriarchal society
as well.
How they viewed women in general as in their culture, so, and that reflected heavily in the music. So Radio Guarachita was the only one that was let's call it promoting bachata, and they did it in quite interesting way, because I remember from my young times when I was younger in Poland, it was very popular in radio that people could phone up and order the song. That was request a song.
Request a song, and also say the best wishes to their friends and family.
And loved ones, yes. So it was a very clever marketing strategy used by Aracena. People would move into the urban areas that had no communication with their families. Not exactly. Telephones.
So you are the new wealthy one. You have a phone, but your family doesn't. So what do? You phone the radio station. You tell them, you wish them all the best. You tell them that you love them, and meanwhile you listen to some bachata.
Yeah. So your family would be listening, thinking, okay, maybe somebody might say something, so let's listen to it. And what were they pushing? He was pushing songs, bachata songs. He was the producer on many of these songs, so he was making money at the same time. So
and he was also responsible for creating the style.
I would say so, because he had a lot of control over his artists. I say his artists. People would go to his station. He had a recording studio, so people would go to him, give him a fee to use his studio, or he would give them a bit of the money and take the song, and it's his song now. But he would sit down with them personally and guide them how to structure the song, what kind of things to say. He would even go as far as editing their lyrics, because they were not educated. Majority of the artists were not educated. Remember, they're from villages. So he had a heavy influence on the makeup of bachata. This was in 1965 when he opened this studio.
And but it continued for many
years before
come,
it,
yeah.
which we'll get onto, yeah.
Okay, so we know that bachata was developing amongst rural areas in Dominican Republic and very rough places like brothels and streets.
It's not nice to say, but it's reality. This is where it was. It happened. They called it Cabaret, which is a brothel. Colmados were like grocery store where you just go probably to get some groceries, but you have a jukebox or a radio and you'll be listening to bachata there. So they were exposed to it quite a lot, and they were not of the nicest of areas.
In rough places.
So where they lived were shanty towns. Now these places didn't have a clean sewage system or access to clean water, and they call them shanty towns. So you could imagine what kind of environment, even electricity wasn't provided to these people.
Yes. I listened that. I read that electricity shortages at that time in Dominican Republic were something very, very normal. Okay,
we're talking 60s and 70s, aren't we?
So another aspect when we already speak about these brothels is that having a bachata dance was equivalent to what we would call now a lap dance. So you could pay and the girl would come and dance bachata with you. Quite
unfortunately, it's the truth.
Yeah, it is, and obviously it brings back the memory of my first impression of bachata. The first video I've seen on YouTube, we checked it from 2006. We'll add the link somewhere there. So they are dancing to Dominic Smarte's song Ventu. It's a couple. I'm not sure where they are from. I actually didn't dig into it, but girl is dressed all pink. Again, we'll put maybe small snippet now as we are talking, and then link to the full video in cards. And this dance looks a bit, I'll say that, as dry humping. It does look like that, or it at least looked like that for me back then. When I saw it for the first time, I was like, what?
And this is in 2006, and so for me, how to think like this in 2006, we're in a progressive country, or maybe in Poland.
In Poland, I think the bachata in general, Latin dancing, was a lot more developed than in here, to be honest. So people were not very familiar with bachata, but seeing that, like, whoa, this is happening for real. They are dancing that close. And if you read comments to this video, you'll see what I am about, because many comments in there are, I know, from 11, 12 years ago. So you'll see what was people's impression about bachata dance at that point. But that's digression completely.
It has changed.
It has changed.
Started dancing it a lot.
But it was in a way promoted. Sorry, this will be again Off topic. Yeah, but it was promoted in this way. I told you about the artist from the times when I started going to festivals, when I went to a couple of bachata festivals, let's say in 2007, 8, 9, somewhere, let's say this times. And there was this couple, Gabriel and Begonia, and they were promoting them.
No, you're not mentioning them.
Yeah, I'm mentioning them. They were promoting. These are facts. I'm not making it up. This is how it was. They were promoting their dance as porno bachata. They were literally calling it like that. It was not much different than this day's bachata sensual. They just used this quite rough name just to for
marketing purposes, which is, I don't think was a good thing.
It wasn't the best name. It didn't sell very well, but at that point they didn't use the name bachata sensual. That was created a bit later. Again, that was off topic. Let's get back to origins. We said that as a genre, bachata wasn't called bachata. So what was it called originally?
So, out of the many names, first one was called bolero.
Bolero Campesino, yeah?
Bolero Campesino. So when we talk about the Jose Manuel Calderon song, underneath it said bolero.
Yes.
People refer to it as Bolero Campesino, so people from the countryside who play this kind of music.
It was music from the countryside, and for some people, it was also not important, irrelevant. So they used even direct term for that type of music, no?
They did. They called it cachivache.
Musica cachivache.
Musica cachivache.
Or musica de cachivache. Or
just musica cachivache.
Okay.
I couldn't get a meaning of it, but it meant insignificant.
Yeah.
Insignificant. So even at the early stage, although it wasn't as bad as in the 70s and 80s, even then it was like it's insignificant, this music.
And because of that, so we said that it's music of poor people, and a group of people that was really low paid are the lowest rank soldiers.
Yeah. So música de guardia, so music of the guards, very low status, low paid salaries for these people.
So from the very, very beginning of its existence, bachata music was marginalized. Yeah. Again, merengue was the main thing.
We're still not calling it bachata yet. Not until we get to the 70s.
But the name bachata appeared a lot earlier than that.
Interesting fact, yes. So in 1927, a Dominican folklorist wrote a piece of writing, and the passage said, I'll quote the passage. His name was Julio Arseno, and he wrote in Spanish, obviously, but I've got the English translation here. They would have improvised parties called bachata. Upper class parties would never be called bachata. Bachata was never a musical genre. It was a street party. It was a reunion of musicians who sang between drinks and jokes, and whilst in the midst of it, people were dancing. So that dancing happened naturally. And this term bachata was used in the 20s.
Yeah. So basically, again, they refer to street parties, low class parties as bachata.
It was a derogatory term, bachata.
So basically, once they start saying stop this bachata, they meant that. So now we are talking about 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
They meant stop this awful music and stop this awful party.
Yeah. And what kind of music was playing at these parties at that time?
Yeah. So the street parties
the music
got associated with something what we call these days bachata.
Yeah. The other thing is, nearly every Latin dance word translates to party. Right?
Yeah, quite many of them. Cuban rumba is a party, mambo is a party, and now we know that bachata also is a party.
We should have guessed.
Yeah, it has some African origin, but we will not get into that. We are not language experts, nothing like that.
Etymologists, or whatever you call them.
Yeah. So how did it happen that some people decided to call this genre bachata?
So there's a lot of disagreements. However, Dominican musicians say it was in the 70s.
So some of them wanted to call it bachata, but some others didn't because it has already its negative
connotations. And like I said, some of these artists have been around since the 60s. And it wasn't as degrading in the 60s as it was in the 70s and the 80s because of the conditions and the things they were saying in the lyrics. So they wanted to separate themselves from that. So they decided to call their music, remember it's a distinct genre now.
Música de amargue.
Música de amargue. Música de amargue.
So what does it mean?
Bitter music.
Bitter music. And so, again, it's still, from my perspective, it's still a bit negative name.
So they wanted to give it a name where
it would express what the music is about.
So the actual word is not associated with anything bad. Yeah. And they wanted to still convey the meaning of what they were singing about and what was going on in their lives. So they thought this word would make up for it. You had some of the artists saying, we'll stick with bachata, we're happy with it. And then you had these artists wanting to push on the new name for the genre.
So there was one big artist that changed the perspective of people looking at bachata, and it was
Juan Luis Guerra. He released a song called Bachata Rosa. And
this is, can we say this was the moment when people would widely accept bachata?
It's cited as being the moment where majority of the people started accepting it, middle class, upper class. By then, the low class people have started earning money as well.
Is this already like about 80s?
So this is 1991.
Oh, that's already late. So I would say that
1990s.
Bachata was popularized a bit earlier than that, and it happened together with emigration of Dominican people to the United States.
The Diaspora, yes, who
especially
moved
to New York.
New York, yeah.
We talked about it in the previous video when we talked about Prince Royce and Romeo Santos, that they were based in
New York, the Bronx.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So the largest diaspora from the Dominican Republic is in New York. So they took with them their music.
It's quite interesting. So Cubans went to Florida, Dominicans
went to New York. I'm sure some Dominicans went to Florida and vice versa.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so they were the largest community there. They were playing their music, their parents' music. The first generation that went there if you think about it, Romeo Santos and Prince Royce, they're kind of first generation immigrant children,
who was
aren't they?
born there.
Yeah, who were born there and were raised on Dominican music. And then obviously then the changes happen. We don't want to talk about that this episode, maybe in a future episode.
Yeah, but what is important to mention in here is that mentality of people changed. The way they view bachata music changed. They were not anymore ashamed of it. Yeah, they were proud of their music. And it was quite funny. Like you can see these videos from early 80s when these youngsters
with his portable speaker was it?
No. So they moved from poor rural areas of Dominican Republic to New York, suddenly become a bit wealthier. They can afford nice cars. They put there the newest, the loudest sound system in the booth. And what do they play? They play bachata. They play bachata because they are not anymore ashamed of it. They are proud of it. They want to expose other people to their culture. And this is the moment when the bachata became something really significant for many people. And then from artist perspective, because it became popular, because it was a lot more available for poor people as well. So not only Radio Guarachita now, but many
other stations,
vinyls and other radio stations. Those artists who were considered to be on the margin of the society suddenly became music stars.
Yeah, and Dominican artists would travel to New York to play to people in America. Now think about that.
Yeah, but the same happens in Cuba. Yeah, like the biggest events in Florida where Los Van Van is coming.
Right, so the similarities.
Yeah, there are many similarities. Coming back to bachata, what creates the status of the music, what makes it really exciting is actually the wealth of the artists. Yeah. So once those artists were rich people, obviously they achieved completely different status in society, and status of music changed as well.
So it can no longer be the music of poor people,
we discussed this in context of blues as well. Yeah. So again, it's a different story, but similar evolution.
Yeah. So for years and years, blues music was considered bad music, not good music,
low class.
Yeah, low class. But now they cannot stop praising it. They cannot stop praising blues.
So I wouldn't say that bachata is sophisticated music, but it became important for Dominican people. It became so important that they decided to put it on the UNESCO list.
Yes. In 2019, the music and dance of bachata was inscribed onto the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity.
He was practicing that for a while.
What does that mean?
Have to read it.
I have to read it.
No, it's okay.
So what does that mean? That means that if you go to a festival and the people are saying Dominican bachata is footwork, it's very, very fast footwork and it's only fast music, it's a lie, because if you want to go to the UNESCO website and it'll tell you Dominican music, there are songs that are about love, there are songs that are slow paced. Yes, majority of the songs are fast paced, and footwork is a part of it, but it's not that it's not the culture. Footwork is a bit of show off.
Yeah, but another thing is that dance is something different. Dance is an art that allows you as a dancer to express yourself, and expression will be always free. So if somebody would like to add footwork, they will add footwork. If somebody wants to turn around your partner, spin your partner 700 times, you will do that as well, and that's perfectly fine. That's why the dance is a very free form of expression.
So what they're protecting here is the cultural side of it, the music, because people are releasing remixes and calling it bachata, and they don't like this aspect of it.
So, but this will be still happening.
Yeah, it's going to happen, but they can't claim it like it's just bachata. So there's a source now, there's a culture, and you could locate it back to the Dominican Republic at least now. The other protected dance in the Dominican Republic is merengue, and in Cuba is rumba. So salsa is not even protected.
Yeah, because salsa is too wide term. We discussed that off the camera, and obviously even the name salsa, that means mix, like sauce. It's very difficult to distinguish something. So You didn't check it, and I never checked it. Is casino as a dance maybe protected?
No, it's not. Just rumba.
Just rumba.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the African ones because there's still culture is still protected and it might disappear, so they protect it so it doesn't disappear.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think salsa is going to disappear anytime soon.
No, but all of these dances are obviously evolving, and if you would like us to make an episode about the evolution of bachata, so maybe we'll talk about.
It'll continue from the 90s now.
Yeah. So we'll talk about traditional bachata as a dance, about bachata moderna and bachata sensual, and maybe all this weirdness that was happening in between, because I have another thought popped up in my mind.
I usually put it in 4 categories.
There was this couple, I think they were all Swedish or Norwegian, I'm not sure. I'll check it before we record anything about different styles. But I remember they were dancing in a way that even people who were very open-minded about bachata, they started saying, oh, this is not bachata, this is zouk with bachata rhythm. So the evolution of bachata as a dance is a bit strange. It went really far away from its origin. Is it bad? I wouldn't say so. It's just different. It's natural, because basically, again, people dance in the way they want to express the music. So if this is what they feel at the moment, this is what they are going to dance, nothing is going to stop them. It's perfectly fine. Anyway, that's completely different story for a completely different episode. If you want us to do it, press this like button under the video and we might chat about this and maybe show you some different examples.
And if you want him to get me a better lab coat, press 30 likes and he'll get me a better lab coat.
What's wrong with this one? This one was free. Okay, anyway. Thanks for watching. Before you finish, like, subscribe and press the bell. Like, subscribe and press the bell. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. You can become a patron of our channel. We'll come back with more theoretical chats. Obviously, we like them. I do like them. And we'll have our regular classes on our channel very, very often appearing. So stay tuned for them. See you later. Bye-bye.